Hello, welcome everyone to African STEM Girl. Today we are going to continue with our login and our sign up form. We are going to add JavaScript to it. So we have looked at HTML and we have said how HTML is used to add the structure of our website. We have also looked at CSS and we have seen how CSS is used to add the styling to our website. And now we are going to look at adding interactivity to our website. So far our website is just a login form. However, what we mean by interactivity is being able to click on a button and something actually happening, and being able to get a response whenever we do something on our website, which is usually pretty important. JavaScript is a programming language. I had previously mentioned that HTML is not a programming language, and neither is CSS. Those are languages that are used to present information to our website or in our website. They do not contain specific sets of instructions. When something contains specific set of instructions, that's when we consider it a programming language. And JavaScript is definitely a programming language because we are going to give it specific instructions, and through those specific instructions, we are going to be able to see specific results. What do I mean when I say the word specific? For example, let us think of the Tesla car. If I program it to move 10 kilometers from point A to B, that's exactly what it should do, and that's exactly what we expect it to do. We expect it to move those 10 kilometers and from that point A to point B. We don't expect it to move 11 kilometers, 12 kilometers, or anything like that. We expect it to stick to the 10 kilometers that we have programmed it to do. So that is what we are going to do today. So the programs we are going to add are how can we be able to make sure that the authentication or the password has been confirmed. It has the specific things we want in a password. Most of the passwords normally tell you to have one capital letter, a number, small letters. So we want to make sure that those features are captured in a password. The other thing we're going to look at is making sure that our password have the length, the minimum length that we want. The other thing we are going to do is to capture user details. What I mean by capturing is there a way where we are storing the email and the password that the user uses to sign up, so that when they are coming to log in, that information is being compared and seen and confirmed if it is the correct information or not. So those we are going to look at the different type of storages that we can use on our web, especially when you do not have a database. So the reason why we are not adding a database, and for those who do not know what a database is, a database is set of, or it's a table that has rows and columns that allows us to be able to store data. So currently we do not have that because we are currently working in the front end. What we mean by the front end is where the user is interacting with our website. For that reason, we do not add things like database at this point. We add it when we are dealing with the backend. So at this point, when we want to deal with information like what we are going to deal with, that is the user email and password, we are going to store it in using something we call local storage. And we're going to look at what is local storage, what does it mean, and so forth. The other main thing we are going to look at is how to access HTML elements from the JavaScript side. I have said JavaScript is a programming language that allows you to be able to add specific instructions. When you're adding something specific, you have to also know where exactly you want to put that instruction. If I tell you to raise up your hand, I don't expect you to raise up your leg. It's because the instruction is specific, raise up your hand. So that is what you should accomplish. You should be able to make sure, even when you're adding JavaScript, you're adding JavaScript to particular HTML elements to do specific things. So I'm going to show you how do we access HTML elements from the JavaScript side. The other thing we are going to look at finally, so I have talked about local storage, using it to confirm the details that the user is putting in. I have also talked about capturing or accessing the HTML element, and I've also talked about what else have I talked about? I've forgotten. But also the other thing you're going to do is you're going to capture, to try and edit the style of HTML elements from our JavaScript side. How do we add CSS using JavaScript on the JavaScript file? The other thing we are going to do is something we call iteration. Iteration is if right now I have a list of names, I can start calling them one after the other. It's just like how your teacher marks the register. They call you out one student name after the other. In programming, sometimes we also need to do that when we have a collection of elements or something like that. We need to be able to make sure that our code is able to access each element one after the other. And we call that iteration, and we're going to also have a look at that. So we have a lot in store, and I hope you guys are ready. So yesterday I realized that I was not able to show you guys how to access your Visual Studio Code, just in case anyone had forgotten. So I'll make sure I do that today. So let me share my screen. Okay, so, and just a heads up, for those who had requested for the resources, I am going to send them. I'm just fine-tuning something so that you have a good experience, and I'm going to make sure that I send them by the end of this week. Okay, so we are going to go to VS Code.dev. So this allows us to be able to use Visual Studio without having to install it, download it and install it. So at some point I had asked some students in my class, what is the difference between downloading and installing? So if you know what is the difference, drop it in the chat section. Let me see if you know what is the difference between saying you have downloaded something and saying you have installed something. Let us see if you're able to, sorry about that, if you're able to know the difference. Sorry, I'm having a small, okay, it's sorted. So after I have opened my Visual Studio, this is the browser-based Visual Studio, the next thing I need to do is to make sure that I open my project file. So I will come to where it's written open folder, and for me, I stored it inside my desktop. So the login and the sign up form, that's where I want to go. And I'll click view files, and I should be able now to access my files. So let them load up. Okay, there they are. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'll just make sure that okay, though I don't need it right now, but we can open up our website in the browser, but we don't really need that right now. I think we can continue as we are. So the first thing we have to do is we have to create the JavaScript file. When you're naming a JavaScript file, there are several rules you have to put into consideration. And these rules are kind of the same also for the other files, but just slightly different. One of the main difference between this file and all the others, that is the CSS and the HTML, is that the JavaScript file ends with a .js extension. What I mean by extension, with the files that I have here, remember login and sign up form, that is a folder. Let me just zoom out to make sure you guys can see properly. So the login and the sign up form, that is the folder. So we want to make sure that the file names have an extension. And as you can see, I have different extensions here. I have a .png, and .png and .gpg are mostly found in images. Videos, you'll find them having .mp4. So that is for images. For HTML, we normally write .html. For CSS, we normally write .css. So there are different extensions based on the file type that you have. So I want to create a JavaScript file. When you're creating a JavaScript file, you use a .js extension. And the extension is whatever you're seeing after the dot or the full stop. The other thing is when you're creating a file name, it is preferable for it to be in small letters, mainly because a file name written even with one word being capital is different than one that has small. And also when you are connecting two files, like how we connected our CSS to our HTML, I think I zoomed out too much, how we connected our HTML to our CSS, we were able to make sure that the file name style in the link hrefs file name style.css is exactly how we had created our CSS file. Sometimes if maybe I had written capital S and I forget, the code will not work as expected. So it is preferable and it is advisable that your file names to always be in small letters. And the other thing, a file name should not have special characters, especially special characters apart from the underscore and the dash or the hyphen. So you can add an underscore and hyphen in a HTML name. However, you cannot add other special characters like the percentage sign, the hashtag, the apostrophe or something like that. It is not advisable or it's not correct to add it. The other rule you need to put to consideration is that a JavaScript file should not have any space. Just like here, we did not add any space in our file when we are naming the file, so the same thing. So I'll come here, just next to the word workspace, there is an icon. I'll click on it and I will add index. Most probably I'll just use script.js. Script.js is a common JavaScript file name that you'll find most developers use, just like index.html and style.css. But it does not mean you have to use that. I can even write my JavaScript name to be something like African STEM girl.js. However, it's not advisable. It's really not advisable, but it's not that when you do it, it is wrong. It's just not advisable to do it that way. So now we have created our JavaScript file. We have our HTML, we have our styling, and we have our JavaScript. So remember, JavaScript is supposed to add interactivity to our HTML. So currently, our HTML is not aware that we have created a JavaScript file. It has no idea. So we have to connect those two. So I'll come to my HTML, and right before the closing tag of the HTML, that is where I am going to add, right before the closing body tag of my HTML, that is where I am going to add the code that connects the JavaScript and the HTML. And that code is written like this: script, then you write src, meaning source, and then I write script.js. So you see where it is normally popular to enclose the word, to give script. It's popular to give the JavaScript file a script.js name because the tag that connects those two is known as script, the script tag. So now that we have connected our HTML to our CSS, I mean our HTML to our JS, let us see how we can now be able to access these HTML elements inside JavaScript so that we can be able to add interactivity. So the first thing that I will do, I'll come to I'll come here and to my JavaScript that is. And the first thing I'll do, I'll try and capture the form and I'll show you how to know that you have been able to capture the correct element. So I write const forms. Let me just write form because it's one form. Okay, you can just leave it in plural. So const forms. So maybe let me explain something before I move on to farm. What is const? And what exactly am I doing? To access an element from the JavaScript side using HTML, the first step you have to do is to create a memory location. And then that memory location, you give it a name. And that memory location, once again, you now give it a value. What do I mean? For example, I'm so sure all of you or most of you, myself included, we have a drawer or a cabinet where we put maybe our socks. So, sorry guys, my internet disconnected me for a minute there. So let me just go back to sharing my screen. Okay. Okay, so I was talking about variables, and I was saying how when you have that sock drawer that you normally know, if anytime I feel like I want to put on a sock, I'll just open it and I'll find my sock there. If I want to add a sock, I will just go ahead and open it and add my clean socks there, for example, and so forth. So we normally have this container that allows us to be able to add sock. It's just that it's in a drawer. So the same thing even in when we are creating what we call memory locations, or another term that you will hear me use common frequently is variables. Variables give us an opportunity to be able to create memory locations where we can add and remove stuff. So, for example, I can create a memory location that holds my age, and anytime I I want to, or maybe maybe I enter into a new year, I update my age value. If maybe I don't want to tell somebody my correct age, I change my age value, and so forth and so forth. So you create a memory location that allows you to be able to add value in it, and with that value, you can now be able to manipulate it, or you can be able to do stuff to it. So that is what we call a variable. A variable is a memory location that allows you to be able to store values in it. So I'm going to create a memory location using what we call a variable name. So here my variable name is const, and that I mean forms. And there are two ways you can create a variable in programming. You can create using, especially in JavaScript, you can create using what we call the const keyword, the one you're seeing here, or what we call the let keyword. So const means it is constant in full. You cannot change that value again. For example, we can say, maybe we can say, which no, what is normally constant, oh yeah, the position, or maybe the fact that we normally have daytime and nighttime, so we can say that is constant. So when you have values that you want to store in the memory location that are constant, you don't want the values inside of them to be changed, especially the variable name. You don't want the name to be changed. If right now you have that sock drawer, maybe you like the position where it is, you no longer want it to be changed. You can say that sock drawer is a const, because that's what you want it to do. You want it to just be for storing socks and socks alone. But in case maybe you don't like where the position of your sock drawer is, and maybe if you get a new cabinet, you will move your socks immediately, you can say that you can declare that memory location using a let keyword, because that will allow you to be able to edit the values inside the container that you have. So const will not allow us to edit the values, but we can access them. What I mean by accessing is when you have not changed the drawer, you like the position of the drawer or the drawer that you have, and you like putting socks there, you can still access the socks. Um, it's only that you cannot change that drawer maybe to be something that now stores your t-shirts. But if you want at some point to change that sock drawer to become your t-shirt drawer, then that you create that variable name using a let keyword. So for today, I will use mostly const, and we will see how that will come about. So I will come here. So let me look at what I have. So I have one form in my index.html called login. And if I see, I think I also have another form called sign up. Somebody has called my name. Yes, please go ahead and drop in the chat section if you have a question for me, or unless you're just saying hi. That's also okay. So I'm just, because I have two forms, that is the sign up form and the login form, I am now going to use const forms because it is more than one. If it was only one, preferable, you can just use form. So it's also good for you. We call this a variable keyword or a keyword, and then this is known as the forms is known as a variable name. So it's good for this variable name to have to be descriptive of what you are trying to do. If I am accessing forms, like right now how I am accessing forms, it would be unfair for me to come and write const container. It should be forms because that is what I actually want to access. And then I'll say document dot. So document, you remember how we also here at some point in the HTML we had the doc type that is used to tell our browser that this is a HTML document. So document is just to access this HTML inside the JavaScript. So I'll now come to here and write document dot query selector. So query selector allows me to be able to capture the value that I want. For example, so now I'm saying const in the create a keyword called const, and then forms, create a variable called forms, and then go to the document, the HTML document, and select, what do I want it to select? I want to select anything that has a class name of form. Okay, so or forms. I think it is forms. Let us say, I think we can use forms, we can use forms, we can use either. So I will say anything that has a class name, because both forms are inside the section class name called forms. So we can use either, we can use form or form. So I'll come here and say access anything that has the word forms. So just like HTML, anything that is a class name, you start with a full stop and you pass now the class, the the name of the class. So what has this line done? This line has gone ahead and selected the HTML element which has a class of forms using and stored it inside a variable called forms. So I'll come here and I will say console. So console, when you want to see something in JavaScript, now we will no longer be seeing it on the website because JavaScript is not used to it's not mostly what the user sees. The user mostly sees the code in HTML and CSS. And here we just want to access the forms from here so that we can add interactivity. So that when our users click on something, something happens. So I'll come here and say console.log forms. So what this does, it allows us to be able to see what this variable has stored inside of it, or what is stored inside the memory location called forms. So if I run my code, somebody is asking me I have to write a lot of code because this is programming. Because it's programming, so now I'm teaching you how to build projects. So it's not like our normal classes where we do we are doing it in small portions. Now because we are building one big project, that's why it seems like it's a lot of code. So let me just repeat something. So after I have loaded my sign up and login, you can't see the login because it's on top, it's below the sign up. So I will right click on the black space and then I'll go to where it's written inspect. And then inside inspect, you will see these two arrows, but it's if in case you're not seeing the word console, so there is elements and console. I want to go to console. If you can see the word console, you just go to console. However, if you can't see, you click these two arrows and you will see the word console appearing. I'll click on the console, and sorry about that. When I click in the console, the first thing I will see is I will see that now we can see the HTML code that we had written, but now we can see it on our website. Here's our website. We can see it on the website side, the HTML code itself. Why? Because I went and said select any element that has a class of forms, and forms is this section class which contains everything. It contains everything. So if I highlight section, there is no other section tag we created. This section tag contains both forms there, the login form and the sign up form. So now you can see when I go to my to my browser, when I look at the console, because I have written this code console.log forms, where we said forms should store or should select all the HTML elements that have a class of forms, and it has done that, and then console log those class names, so, or those values. So it has done that, and now I'm able to see that there is a section which has two divs or two containers, the login and the sign up. So everything is in there. So this, what I have done is we have been able to access the HTML code using the JavaScript code. So now we can add interactivity. But before we add interactivity, oh, I've closed it by mistake. Before we add interactivity, that is, before we add interactivity, let us go ahead and continue getting more HTML elements. Let me just make sure I get that folder again. I open it once more. Remember, when you're using Visual Studio on the browser, anytime you close it, it will close. You'll have to add the project again. So now I want to add more HTML elements, or to access more HTML elements on the JavaScript side. In case if you have a question and you want me to repeat, or you want me to repeat something, let me know. So we have const password hide, password show hide is equals to. So I want us to be able to capture. You remember our password icon, when you click on it, nothing happens. So this shows a good reason for JavaScript, because now we want, when you click, something actually happens. So I'm going to go and say, I'm going to try and capture this icon only, so that I can be able to code it so that we can change to different values. So I'll come here and say password show hide. I'll just call it like that. I'll say document. So document. So remember, this refers to the HTML document. Query. So I can add there, you can add query selector, but if you have more than one element which has that class name, you can say query selector all. Remember, in my HTML, how many elements? We had so many things that had that icon. We can see, where is it? For the password. Let me just decrease a little bit. If you can see, just let me know. So the first one is this one here on line 20 for the login form. So the login form, you only need to put in the password once, but for the sign up, you need to put in the password twice. So the first one is for just adding the password, and the other one is for confirm password. The first one is for creating the password, and the second one is for adding the password. So let us go ahead and add that to our, to make sure we capture all that, and all of them have a class of icon. You can see there is a class bx-hide, but we added, if you remember last time or yesterday, we added our own class icon, which allows us to be able to style the element and even now get it using the JavaScript side. So I'll come to my JavaScript code and I'll say query select all I dash icon. So what this has done is it will now allow me to see all the elements that have a class name of I dash icon, because remember it is more than one. So I will console.log it and I will write password show hide. So let us see what answer we get when we look at, when we console log it. So I will come again to my website and I will right click on my website and go to where it is written inspect. So now at the top I see the word console. So it looks like I can't still see it. You see, this is actually saying script.js. This means line 2. So it is not yet showing the code that I have just shown on line 3. So remember, line 2 is this console.log. So this is line 3, this one here. So is there a reason? Let me see if I can see maybe a mistake I have done. Oh, did I refresh my screen? Oh, I hadn't refreshed my screen. Yeah, that was the problem. So when I refresh my screen, I can see now script.js line 4. So it shows me that this is the answer for line 4. It looks like this. So if you click inside, so what it's just doing, it's showing me that there is a collection of 3 elements. Is it telling me length is 3? There are 3 elements which have that icon, that which have that class I dash icon. So that is what it is basically telling me. So which is okay. I'll show you how to start seeing those values the correct way. So the next thing we're going to do is I think we can try, and before we move on, we can now add that feature where we can reveal the password whenever we type it. Let us go ahead and see how can we make it so that this I shows and hides accordingly. So we have seen that this line 4 has given us 3 answers. Okay. Make sure, if it's nothing is showing up, make sure that you have actually connected your JavaScript and your HTML file. Confirm if you have connected your JavaScript and your HTML file here at the bottom. Have you connected it? Script, src, script.js, and so forth. Make sure this is done so that it connects your HTML to your JavaScript. That is very, very important. Confirm. If you've added, then maybe you can, is it on the JavaScript side or on the CSS? Yeah. So let us make sure that we can be able to see that password. Okay, so to be able to see that password, remember I could see a collection of three elements from the I icon class. When I go to the console, I see it even tells me a node list of three items. So that means it's like when I was talking about having your class register and it has 100 students and the teacher is calling one after the other. We have to call these elements here one after the other so that we can do the correct thing in each element independently, and that is called iteration. Iteration is when you access the elements one after the other. It's like whenever the your teacher is calling the register, we call that iteration. They are calling out your name and marking if you're present or absent. That is iteration when they call from a list of names. So the same thing, we need to make sure that we call from the list of names one after the other so we can change this value and make it to reveal the answer in here. So I'll come here and I will say password show hide. Now this variable we created here to iterate in JavaScript, to be able to know how to call those one elements after the other, we can use, there are different iteration methods that can be used. But I am for this one, I'm going to use an iteration method means which known as for each. What this will do is that it will now start calling those elements one after the other. So I'll say for each, and then I'll say for each icon, so that this icon that we have here, so I will call it like that. I'll just say for each icon. As I finalize that resource, you can just leave your details in the chat section. I think there's a link there. If there is none, I will make sure I add it so that you can submit your email, and I will send you the resource with what this means, a good breakdown that I have visualized clearly. So we call this an arrow function. You see, it looks like an arrow. So now we are saying for each, what do we want it to do? We have to specify exactly what we want it to do. So I'll put a curly bracket so that I can now specify what I want it to do. So I'll say in each icon, go ahead and add an event listener. An event listener is it's like your code is waiting to, it's like it's listening. You see how when you turn on your power socket where your TV maybe is connected, or whenever you open up your laptop, there is a power button. When you click on that button, automatically the laptop turns on. So why is that? It's because that power button, it's like it has an event listener. It's just listening, waiting for you to click. And the moment you click, it starts up the computer. So the same thing, we want to add an event listener that immediately we click here, we are able to see the content in our password. So we are going to, and there are different types of event listeners, but this one is going to be for clicking. Immediately I click, do something. So I'll come here and I will say, if add event listener click, and then I'll put a comma and I'll put this in another bracket now where we are going, what do we want to happen immediately you click? What is the function that you want to happen? What specific instruction do you want to happen immediately someone clicks the power button? You want the laptop to turn on or off if it is on. So the same thing, we want whenever they click, either it reveals the password or it hides. So I'll come again and say let So we want to make sure that we can see the information that is inside the password. So I'll have to come back here to my HTML and ask myself, where is the password information stored? It is stored in a variable called what? So I'll come here and I will see, oh, there is an input type of this way. Here it is. So there is an input of type password. The placeholder is called create password, and the class is password. So this is what has the value. So I will make sure that I capture that. So I'll come here and say let password. So I'll just write it password fields be is equals to icon dot parent element. So what is happening is when we write parent element, so remember we created our icon when we said for each. So it's just basically referring to each icon. So, but remember, there's a time either between Monday and Tuesday, I talked about HTML elements behaving like family, where this is a child of this is a child, I mean, these are siblings. Oops. These two are siblings, and these two are a child of this div. The div encloses the input and the icon tag. So these two are siblings, but they are inside a container. So we are now going to come here and say get in the parent element, go to query selector, go and query select an element that has a class name of password. And query select all, because we normally remember we have more than one. In the login we have password, in the sign up we have two passwords, so we have to make sure that we capture those. So what is happening? This icon, remember I have told you it's a sibling of the password element. So there are also other ways you can access it. However, we can also use the approach of, it's like telling your mom to call your brother or sister on your behalf. So that is basically what is happening in this line of code. It is telling, I am the icon, go to my parent element and then query select all elements that have the class name password. So it's like it's just telling them, hey mom, can you please call my sister, or can you please call my brother, something like that. So that is actually what is happening here. So after that, we are now going to try and see how can we reveal the information. So I'll come here and say password fields. So this variable that I have created here, I'll say dot for each. I will also say for each here again, because there are more than one. There's one in the login and there are two in the sign up. So I have to make sure whenever I say class password here, how I have said here, access class password, I will access this one has class password for confirm password, create password has class password, and also in the login, there's also a class password. So we are accessing those three. So we have to make sure that we call them one after the other. It's like marking the register. So remember, whenever you want to access a group of elements, we normally use iteration, and one of the iteration methods is using for each. So iteration basically is calling one element one after the other. So that I will use for each, and I will say password, and then I'll add my arrow again, and I put a curly bracket. What do I want to happen in this password? I want to say if password dot type is equals to so we'll use 3 is equals to password, then password, change password dot type, sorry, dot type to be text. What is happening in HTML? There are different types of input types. We call them, there are different types of input type. Input types in HTML. Oops. Let me just show you. There's so many. So these are some of the different types of input types that we have. We have button, we have checkbox, we have color, date, email, file, hidden, image, month, and so forth. Let me send you a link to this in the chat section for your referral. So what do each of these input type do for us? What do they actually do for us? They allow us to be able to specify the type of information that will be captured in a form. For example, if I scroll down here, they have shown a little bit of an example. If I say input type to be text, so what, and they have come here and they say they have created a form and said label first name and last name. And they put in, I can put in a value and put in another value. So we can actually see what we are putting in because the type is text. But what happens if the type is password? Let us scroll down. So I'll come here. So here they have label for password and then type is password. So I'll just go directly to where the password is. I can no longer see what I have typed in. So what we are doing is we are telling our JavaScript, if you go and find that the type of that input is password, change it to text so that the user can see. Okay, and then remember when we were doing the icons, this one using boxicons yesterday, when we were getting different icons, we saw that there is another icon that helps you to, like, the eyes are open. What do I mean? Let me show you. So if I come here and I write show, just write show. So you can see there is this icon that has the eyes wide open. If I click on them and I go to font, remember we were adding these fonts using these icons using the font. We say bx space bx dash show. So we copied this. This will add this icon. But how was the one for hide looking like? Hide. I've written shade. Hide. If I come here and I go, so I see it's written bx dash hide. So how can we change whenever I click on this icon? We want it to change from bx hide to bx show. I will come here and I will say not only change the input type to text, go ahead and also change the eye icon dot class list. So replace, so inside the eye icon and inside its class, go and replace the bx hide. I'll put a comma with bx show. You have to start with how it is and what the value, the current value, and how you want it to change. Currently, our icons all have bx hide. So we want to change this value, but we want to change it from the JavaScript side. So we go ahead and say change that, replace that bx hide with bx show. And then we say else. So else is, what if it's already in bx show? What should it do? I'll say else I'll say password. Wait, have I done something wrong? Wondering why it has underlined for me. Oh, here, let me just put, should that remove that? Okay, there's nothing wrong. I don't know why it is giving me. Let me just continue in case the error persists. I'll figure out what I really honestly can. This should not be showing an error. Okay. Is there anything I have opened? Okay, let me first continue. So I'll say else if the password dot type is equals to password. Sorry, that error has thrown me off. I'm trying to see in my mind where have I gone wrong? Anyway, icon dot class list replace. So in case the type is still password, replace the bx show with bx hide. What have I done? I think it's this curly brackets. Just bear with me. Let me find where. Oh, I have seen here. I accidentally deleted the curly brackets. Yeah. Yep. So it should be if you open a curly bracket, you state what you should do, and then else you open a curly bracket and you state what you should do. And then there is also another curly bracket here at the top that I need to close before I close this capped bracket. Yep, now that is okay. So now what has happened here in the last part? So I've said if password type is equals to password, check if it is, um, change it to text and then replace bx hide with bx show. Else, if password type is actually password, just replace then bx show with bx hide. So you want it not to do the other way round. So the other thing, let us first see what will happen in case there is any change. So you can see now our icon is changing. It is changing. Let us see if we type, if it actually reveals the text. So you can see it is revealing the text, but there is an error here. I don't know if I clicked on something. Did I do something? It is the one for create password inside the sign up. I don't know if I touched something accidentally there. No. Type password placeholder. Let me refresh. You didn't type it. It's still intact. Else, let me also put this in the inside so you can see the difference. Mhm. Password type is equals to password. I replace bx show with bx height. I'm trying to understand. I did not tamper with the HTML. Let me right click to inspect and see what is happening here. So also when you right click to inspect, you normally see the code. It's missing the word password. That's weird. For sign up. So it's missing it has removed its, when it's coming here, it has automatically deleted the word input. So here it doesn't have the word input type password. Here it has the word input type password. So that's why the first one is behaving the way it's behaving. But I did not delete it. This thing is intact from my side. Create password. Here it is input. So, okay, so the only thing I know I need to do is to edit the CSS. But for this icon for showing and hiding, I don't think that should be affecting it. Okay, let me say maybe it's just a small mistake that I have made. Look at my work. Input type password, create password, class to be password. Okay, let me remove it for some reason and copy paste this and type it again, as if that will fix this weird error that I do not understand where it has come from. Create password. Yep. Okay, let me see. There it is back. I don't know where that error came from. I haven't changed anything major. So now we can see that we can be able to see, to reveal our password. If so here it's because the eye is open. Here, if I come here, the eye is closed, the icon. So BX is now, this one reveals accordingly. So yeah, so we have been able to do that. We can add some styling. I had some small, just like 4 lines of code that I wanted to add on that property. Let me see where I put it. Actually, we will do it. We will do it when we are seeing how we can switch from login to sign up page. So let us actually move on. I will come and add the styling later. So now we have successfully been able to make sure that we can see our password when we want, and we can hide it when we want. So yeah, so we have done that successfully. Just organize this. Yes. So the next thing now we are going to do is we are going to, how can we change from the login page to the log to the sign up page? As you can see here, we are still on top of our, it's like we are on top of our login form, and when I click the word login, nothing happens. So how can I change if I want from the JavaScript side? So I'll come here and I will start by accessing where we have stored those links. So remember, here is where we have stored them. Where is that one? Already signed up and all that. Here it is, here. Okay, so we have given it a class link and all that, and login link. So we have to access these elements from the JavaScript. Let us go and look at here. That is for already have an account, login. Let us see the one for sign up. It's this one, don't have an account, sign up. So they have the same classes. No, this one now has the word sign up link, the other one has login link. So let us go and try and make sure we can first get them from the HTML side to the JavaScript side. So I'll come here, scroll to the top, and then I'll say const. I will now say links is equals to, so it's always good, all the code that you're writing for accessing your HTML elements, you add it at the top. All that you're using for trying to get the code for your HTML element, just add it at the top. So we have const links, and then we say document dot query selector. So because it's more than one, I will use query selector all. And then I'll say get all the elements that have the class name link. Because remember, this has link for sign up, don't have an account, and also we'll see that also for login it has link as well. So we want to make sure that we can capture that accordingly. So I've used query selector all, and if I now console log just to make sure that that has been done successfully. So I'll try and find the output for line 6. I'll come here, click on inspect, go to console, refresh. Oh, I need to refresh. So I'll see that line 6 gives me 2 links, one for sign up link and one for login link, which is what we expect. So even this, we will need to iterate so that we capture one after the other and do something about it. The other thing is I need to get the login form so that it can actually show the form. So I'll come here and I'll say const login form is equals to document dot query selector login. So let us see how we wrote the class of our login form before I continue so far. So we have the form itself. I want to go where the form is. So that is sign up. But for sign up, we can see the class, we gave it class form sign up for the whole form. So let me see for the login, I gave it form login. So I will capture it like that. So I can come back here and say login. yeah, it has the class login, and then sorry, I will capture the class name login, and then inside login we have the form. So that is what I will do, and then I'll come back to my sign up. I will capture the div which has a class sign up, and then I'll capture the form. So I'll come here, login, and then I write form like that. Okay, and then I'll do the same. So let me first console.log it. Is there something I've done wrongly? Oh, let me put a semicolon here. Yeah. So I'll say console.log login form. So let us see what line 8 will give us. So I'll come here and I will refresh. So I can see line 8 has given me a form, and this form has an input of email and password and a button. So it has been able to capture the login form. So let us do the same for the sign up form. I'll come here and I'll say const sign up form is equals to document dot query selector sign up form. So we now, let us try and console log this. We see if it has actually captured that form. It's usually good to just console log. It's usually good to confirm that you have what you need. So this should be on line 10. Let me refresh. So on line 10 here, so we are seeing that there is a form which has an input of password, an input and then password button. So it looks like it has captured the correct thing. So we have now the forms. So let us go and see how can we make sure that we can move between the two forms and see both forms. Right now, we can only see one form, the sign up, and when I click login, nothing happens. So I want to be able to see also the login form when I click login, and when I'm in the login and I want to sign up, I do the necessary. So I'll come back here, we have console.log sign up form, and I will now create, the first thing I'll do is I will capture these links. Remember these links? And because they came as a collection, you see, they came here as a collection. If you remember, links were on line 6. So if I go back to the console, line 6 gave me a collection of 2 links, the sign up link and the login link. So because it's a collection, because it's a list, they're together, I need to iterate them one after the other. Remember, always like the register. So to iterate, I will still use for each. So I'll come here and I will say links dot for each. Then I'll add the link. I'll say, I'll add my arrow, and I will say, what do I want to happen? I want you to go to the link, and I will add another event listener. So remember, I said the event listener, it's like it's listening, it's waiting for you to click on it, it's waiting for you to do something. So add event listener, click. So there are different types of event listeners. For now, we are going to use click, and put a comma, and then I write E. E means if that event happens. So now I'm going to add an event listener. So it's listening to an event. So like the power button, you turn on and off. So we are saying if that event actually happens, what do we want it to do? Put another arrow. We call it an arrow function. So our function is used to write specific code. So what do we want to happen when when I click on the link? The first thing is I want to make sure my page does not refresh. Most of the times when you click on a link in HTML, it refreshes. But before I do that, let me actually just show you what that looks like so that you have an idea. So I'll say forms class list toggle. So there is usually a function on a toggle or toggle, so however you say it. So toggle, say show sign up. So what this does is basically we want it to, if I go to my form here, there is just a minute. Okay. So if I scroll down, let me scroll down, trying to find that class name, show dash sign up. Okay. I think I did not add it. Okay. So I'll come to my, I just wanted to confirm. So I'll come to my JavaScript, and we have now the show sign up. We want it to move between those two forms. So let me refresh. This should not be show sign up. The name of that form is, so this is for each toggle show sign up. Wait. Okay. Excuse me, I've added everything and nothing is showing up on the form, and reset and nothing has shown up. Like you don't have a form completely like this one. You do not have a form completely like this one. There is no form. Let me know. Let me just look up something, guys. So maybe now you can send me an email and then I can jump on a call with you. I see what is the problem. I'll drop my link in the chat section so you can have a look, and then you can go ahead and tell me what is the problem. Or I can see, most probably if I see, I'll be able to figure out maybe where it's not. And also the other thing, oh, I hope you have put autosave. If you don't save your work, come to the, if you have written everything, if you are seeing dots here, especially white dots, if it's on dark mode or black dots, come here to the side, click on where it's written file, and go to where it's written autosave or save. Click on one of the two so that it actually saves your work. So try that. If then it does not work, please do send me an email. I can find time. We get on a call and we see how to help you with that. Okay, so let us go to our link. So we have said class list toggle. So let us go to in the forms. Wait, yeah, in the two forms. So we'll say I can pick one of the forms, form content, form content. So it has worked now. You've said yes. Has it worked? Is that a confirmation that it has worked? So guys, I haven't encountered an error and I'm trying to figure out where I wrote that code and I have misplaced it completely, or I can't trace it. So I think what we can do, there is, but it is blank. There is code now. No, it is different. I don't understand. It does not work. Okay, let me just drop my email and then just email me, and maybe in the evening we can resolve that. So I think for now we can stop this session here. I go and resolve that problem, and then tomorrow we will continue allowing us to be able to move from one part of the code to the other. So I've sent a link. So let us meet tomorrow, same time. Thank you for being here, and then we will just finalize on that final part. So bye-bye.